So you're saying that we should not inflate our beliefs. But then you're also saying that those are hidden beliefs. Something, what is the sutra? How do we catch it? How do we catch that we are inflating our belief? Yeah, when it is specially hidden. Also, one more thing. Actually, same thing. The psychological conclusion you have used, right? Psychological conclusion. How to catch this when you're doing?
Yeah. Understood. I will tell.
No. 1 minute, sir. This, as in when you do bhajan, obviously you feel nice. No, you do bhajan to feel nice only. So
okay, fine.
What's wrong then?
Okay, fine. With the objective world, when it comes to physicality and mentality, these two things which are in our experience, these things you can convert as objective facts which can be published, and others can talk of it as facts. For example, the scientific advancements, whatever, they have found that at subatomic level this happens, that happens. Like in that Panchakosha video, I was talking about what happens in the subatomic world. That is not our direct experience. It is inferential, it is objective world, it is physicality. So some human beings do experiments and they find, okay, these are the facts, and they report it. Now, any other human being also can talk of it as facts. This is not belief. These are objective facts which pertain to physicality and psychology. Even psychologically, if you do psychological experiments and whatever, they come up with something. This pattern is there in human being, this tendency is there in human being. You can talk of it as facts. For example, I am not married, but I can talk of the psychology of a married man. I can infer it. It's not difficult. So like this, or you can do objective study on married people and publish a study, or married people think like this, something. You can do something and it can be talked of even if it is not in your direct experience, because this belongs to the plane which you're already in. If you want, you can experience it tomorrow. It is available to you. It is within the purview. It is like a simple example is, it's like a fruit which you may not have eaten. You may not have eaten the fruit, but you can talk about it, because after all, the taste of the fruit, whatever it is still within your grasp in some way. It is just a combination of sweet, sour, and bitter, whatever it is. It already a combination. It is just a combination of what is already in your experience. It is not something absolutely different from the mind itself. So there you can talk of objective facts. But when we come to this, when we say spiritual hunger, you are hungry for something more than the thought process itself. Now this can't even be captured by your mind. Somebody else who has come to experience something more may use some word for it. For you, it is just a sound. It doesn't mean anything. So when we speak of things which are supposed to be beyond the grasp of the mind and for which you are hungry for, actually, if you speak of that psychologically, it's a belief. First of all, it can't even be captured by your mind. And if you act as if you have understood it, you are contradicting yourself. You're going in the opposite direction. Now, this has a lot of problems to it. First of all, it gives you what Amarjit was telling. If you make beliefs about this, I don't talk only of God, whatever conclusion it is. In India, the popular one is Dvaita, Advaita, Vishishta, Advaita, blah, blah. Whatever conclusion it is, the moment you have arrived at a conclusion like that, the first problem is it gives you a sense of knowledgeability. I know something. When you say I know something, you are sedating your hunger. Hunger means I don't know. Knowledgeability means I know. The moment there is a feeling of I know, the hunger is dampened. That is the only way it can happen. You can know a lot of things with respect to human psychology and whatever I speak of, like gunas and all these things you can speak of. These are all objective. How the mind functions, what has, like these beliefs, we are talking of beliefs, all this is objective. But the moment you speak of something beyond it as a concept, it's contradictory. So the catch is you can't speak of something which is supposed to be beyond your mind and what you're actually hungry for. You can't speak of it as a concept. If you just keep mum, you can't speak of it in any way. Any way you speak of it, even if you say, I theoretically know, you are going against yourself. You can't know it theoretically. This notion that I know theoretically is the one that is giving you comfort now. It will give you comfort. Yes, I know what it is and I'm going after it. You can't go after it like that. Only if your thought comes to a halt, it is stranded, only then something more than thought will happen. One problem I see with this glorifying of the mind, one confusion there is, it is undoubtedly what we refer to as our mind has tremendous power over physicality. This was not new to India. Western world has discovered this recently and they're all excited about it. And they think that will do something to them. Your mind has some dominion over matter. If you exercise your mind, you can change physicality. Positive thinking, whatever nonsense it is, you can do. I'm not negating it, but this is not spiritual. Mind can lead you only back to physicality, nothing else. You can't do positive thinking and go to the source of the mind. Simply not possible, because mind can't think about it. You can repeat something in your mind and memorize it. You can repeat something in your mind and learn some new skills. You can repeat something in your mind and make something manifest in the physical world. You can do all this magic with thought, but you can't repeat something in the mind and go beyond mind. Simply not possible. They are confusing the external methodology, what they are using to improve their life or whatever. It will happen, that is fine, but it is not spiritual. That thing spirituality will also do can be done like that. It can't be done. So that is the catch. If you are a seeker, don't speak of things which you don't know. Don't say, I know it theoretically. No, I know it theoretically is a big problem. And that is coming because to avoid discomfort. Because to say I don't know and to see that blankness is not comfortable. The essential point is, there are already hidden conclusions in a human being. We don't know why they are there, how they are there. If you start asking those questions, it will go somewhere and you will not come to an end anyway. You can't answer that. Why is it there? I don't know. And the hidden beliefs are already there. But we are not empty-handed. There is something which is trying to override those hidden beliefs. Your only job is to facilitate that. So if you facilitate it, the hidden beliefs will start getting challenged. You will really start getting fundamental questions. Otherwise, this question, for example, what am I or who am I? This question is not something that can be given to somebody. I will tell one thing about myself. In 2011, when I was in the state of depression, existential depression, I was in Prashanti. I was doing MSc and first semester, and there not many people in the campus that time. I was roaming around the campus like a ghost with not knowing what to do. And that time, there used to be a Swamiji who used to come and conduct some camps. He used to come every year. He's very elderly. I don't know whether he's coming now. His name is Swami Prajnaranya. So he had come. It was 2011 February, March, that time. So he came and he conducted an introductory talk. And he talks in the language of inquiry and all that. So in that talk, he was emphasizing to us. I mean, he was emphasizing to us and trying to make us inquire. And then in some places, he made statements like this, that, don't you see, you are awareness, you are Chaitanya, something like that, he said. And I still remember sitting there and not making any sense of that. I didn't make any sense of that. I heard it and I didn't make any sense. I said, okay, fine, he's saying something. What, I am Chaitanya? I don't know. Because at that time, what was happening was cornering of the thought process was happening, because I was straightforward with myself. I was not yielding to any beliefs, any concept or any word that people were giving me. It is only after thought process was strangled sufficiently, because I did not yield to beliefs, because it was strangled sufficiently, because the hidden beliefs were challenged. I still remember one day, this, when I was walking, that also not even sitting in meditation or anything. When I was walking for having my lunch or something, as I was walking, this question started coming. I can talk, I can walk, I can do so many things. I am such a complex entity. What am I? This question really came by itself, not because of intellectual thinking, but because I had sufficiently cornered the thought process. The hidden beliefs got challenged about my individuality, as to I am this fellow, that fellow, whatever. They automatically got challenged. It's not that I went inside and challenged them. If you just don't yield to any concepts and beliefs, no matter what they are, at some point your hidden beliefs will get challenged and you will get these questions. And once you get those questions, it will guide you after that. After that, you don't have to, unless you again fall in for beliefs. It will guide you by itself. The question will come, the question will grip you, and when the question increases, intensifies further and further, the hidden beliefs will get erased further and further. And then you will, oh yes, I am awareness. You will see the self-evident fact. Now I'm talking in terms of Jnana Yoga language. You can talk of the same thing in Bhakti Yoga language also. Even devotees don't yield for beliefs, don't have that contradictory idea. It's not that only Jnana Yogis don't have belief, Bhakti Yogis have belief. No. Spiritual process is to challenge these hidden beliefs. If you make up new beliefs, you are going against spirituality. It doesn't matter what path it is. So there is no exception. Don't think there is an exception for making beliefs. This is a very common thing nowadays. Everybody says, but everybody has their own unique path. Yes, everybody has a unique path, but it doesn't mean that all paths will work. Beliefs won't work by design. They won't work. Just because you're unique doesn't mean it will work for you. You know, you can keep your boat and row and row and row by tying it to the thing. It won't go. Can you call that as my unique way of rowing the boat? By tying the boat? Just Vatsala wants to ask something.
So a little more, like for example, if I take Hatha Yoga versus gymming, or bhajan versus regular song, there is a certain trust that Hatha Yoga and bhajan will do something different compared to gym or a regular song, right? Is that also a psychological conclusion?
No.
How is that different?
What? The Hatha Yoga is fine. I'll keep that aside for a while. Hatha Yoga is fine. I'll keep it aside. If you are doing bhajans because somebody else told you it will work, don't do it. The bhajan is associated with the path of devotion because those people who we identify as devotees, they were not seen. There are two types of, you can broadly categorize as two kinds of people. In the regular affairs of the world also, you see scientists and poets and artists. Left brain, right brain, whatever you say. Basically, you see these two kinds of people. So you can say, see, now don't compare scientists and poets as such. Poets have their own mental nonsense going on. I don't mean poets are devotees, but devotees belong to that category, and that category of people don't have their rooting that much in the thought process as the other category. Scientists and all these intellectual people have a very, very strong rooting in thought. For them, logic is the ultimate, thought process is the ultimate. They have to go by thought inquiry and they have to strangle their thought. That is a different thing. People who are not so much rooted in their thought process, which in a milder way gets expressed in poets and artists and all these people, when they write poetry, they are not giving a thesis. They are writing very loosely, and if some intellectual persons look at the poems, they can't make head and tail of it. They will be very abstract, because such people inherently are not rooted in their thought process, and therefore they don't have strong conclusions. They don't fall for conclusions easily. Now, I don't mean all poets don't fall for. Poets will have some deep hidden conclusions. But if you, the devotees who are an intensified version of a poet, who belong to that category of humanity, whose right brain is very strong, in them thought structure itself is weak. They are not driven by conclusions and this beliefs and whatever. So when they talk also, they will speak poetically, they will sing more than they speak. So it was one way of expressing, because it mainly pertains to emotions and the thought process has very little to do with it. The music and poetry naturally got associated with the path of devotion. It is not because of singing something happened to them. No, something they were of certain kind, and because of their nurturing that, singing happened. So we are doing bhajans to nurture that side, and that side is there in all human beings also. Everybody is not completely logic oriented. We have that aspect of the mind which doesn't want to, feel rooted in conclusions and beliefs, which simply wants to feel free and talk poetically without conclusion, simply talk something. It won't be talking rubbish. It will be something meaningful, but it's not meaningful in the sense of logic. They will talk poetically in many ways. So this singing aspect is just to nurture that side of it. So if you are singing, now don't again bring your logic to it. Oh, I am doing bhajan and this benefit will happen to me. Don't do this. That activity is meant for keeping your logic aside and thought process aside and whatever.
So maybe not bhajan, but definitely hatha yoga. So it comes.
So what is your question? So what is your question?
Question is that there is like, I want to understand the psychological conclusion that you're talking about. I just want to know all the ways of catching it. So when you do hatha yoga, there is a trust or a belief that this is different, and wherever I want to go, better than gymming.
Understood. So your basic question is differentiating between trust and belief.
Correct.
The basic question is differentiate between trust and belief. See, I will again start from a fundamental level before coming to what you are asking. The very fact that there is a hunger in you means that there must be food. There is an innate trust. It is not psychologically made up trust. Hunger means there is food. It will make the living being search for food. They don't have to believe it. I don't know about it. I may not even call it food. I don't know what it is. Nothing. I know nothing. Psychologically, there is no belief. But the very existence of the hunger implies there is food. This, you can say, is an innate trust which is there. A river is flowing means there is a destination to it. There is an innate trust to it. Now, this is the most fundamental form of trust, which is not you vesting your trust. It is not you as an individual vesting a trust on something. Life process is happening by itself. Life has trust upon itself. It knows where it is going. People are only meddling with it. When they meddle with it, when they fall for beliefs, when they make a conclusion, yes, I know what to do, where to go. When they make a conclusion, fundamental conclusion about God or whatever, they are basically saying that I don't have trust on the life process, I have trust on my own thought process. That is what it means, actually. The life is evolving, trying to evolve. Your job is just to facilitate it. But then human beings have more trust upon themselves. So they will stop that. They will dam the river and they will say, I know where the river has to go. That is the meaning of believing. That's the difference between believing and that innate trust. Now, but if you talk of trust in a little lower level, now there are many human beings in whom the hunger has not expressed itself very strongly. It is there, it is never absent. It's not coming out very strongly. And still their faith is on their thought process only. And so they are going on doing their things, going on with their life, thinking their physical and the psychological will fulfill them. Now, here you can bring in the aspect of collective trust. I will give a simpler example to begin with. Suppose 1,000 years ago, in South India, let's say tip of South India, Kanyakumari, there is a town, and from generations to generations, people have been talking about Himalayas in that village. And the youngsters in that village, now everybody in the village, all the elders are talking, and they are saying that they have, some of them have gone and come back to Himalayas. They're saying Himalayas exist. Now for these people, youngsters, today there is at least objective proof. You can show photos and videos. In those times, that possibility is also gone. Now it is just a few people are talking about it. They are convincingly saying, yes, it is there. There is no proof. I don't have any proof to show you that it is there, but I have gone and seen it. And many are saying it, and they're saying generations after generation, people have gone and they've said it. Now you will get a collective trust on this whole thing. Okay, something must be there. Let me go if you want to. This you can say is a collective trust. It is not even individual. So many people are saying the same thing, and which will invoke that trust in you, and you will make the trip. And you will go and you will see it, whatever. Now, same thing can be applied here. There is an aspect of collective trust to spirituality. If your longing is not strong enough, if your hunger is not strong enough, if you are sedated too much, one of the things that can facilitate your hunger is that when you look around, many people are telling, yes, it is there. It will invoke some collective trust in you. But you can question that also, actually. You can say, oh, you know, this human mind is very tricky. You give some concept to these people and everybody will start talking about it. You say that I saw a bluebird, everybody will start talking of bluebird. Yes, that's a possibility. So you can counter question how to do this collective trust. It may be just that generation after generation, people are simply saying something because they heard it, they also hallucinated and they also saw something. So for this, you can see, I think I put this quote in Facebook long ago. This quantum physicist, Schrödinger, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Schrödinger or Schrödinger, whoever it is. He, after after making all these scientific discoveries about quantum physics, which actually shook them up. It shook many of those people up. Today, people are casually talking about quantum, but the people who actually witnessed that developments, it shattered them in some ways. Many of them knew what it meant. Many of them started looking towards East, towards all this spirituality and all, because whatever was science indicating was too much to digest. It was already indicating something beyond the mind. So the Schrödinger was influenced by Vedanta more, and there were others like Niels Bohr. He was influenced by Chinese philosophy, and like this, they started looking towards the East. The Schrödinger, he made a statement once saying that he read some book which was compilation of the sayings of many mystics from all across the globe from many millennia. So he read that and he made a comment saying, these people are separated by thousands of years, by thousands of miles, and they had no means to communicate with each other at that time. But all of them said the same thing. How is this possible? There must be something to this. The way they were describing their experience in a very superlative language and whatever, they were all explaining it in similar words. Some kind of oneness, some kind of inclusiveness, something like that. So he got curious, meaning this is one thing that has to invoke collective trust in you, because human beings separated across thousands of miles and thousands of years are telling the same thing, and they're not influenced by each other. They're telling it independently. Some of them may be influenced by each other, but it's not possible that all of them are influenced by each other. So why did they say similar things? So he said there must be something more. It is just mind-boggling to us. So even such a logical mind saw that there is, I mean, you have to trust this. You can't simply dismiss this. So this is the aspect of collective trust. This is a lower level thing I'm reminding you. The foremost thing to do is to have trust on life process and not all for beliefs within you. But if that level of awareness has not yet come, the hunger is still sedated, this is the help we can take from the outside. You can take collective trust into picture and you can use that to boost you a little bit, because this will challenge your hidden beliefs. If you have a hidden belief saying, oh, what if this world is all there is, physicality is all there is, materialistic philosophy, for example, if you have, and if you look at this, this should challenge that belief, materialistic belief that only physicality is the end. Because this thing which many people are collectively saying is challenging that conclusion. You can, if that is also not enough, you can go a step ahead and you can go for individual beliefs, individual trust. Now that is up to individuals. But what the question you are asking is collective trust. You're asking about Hatha Yoga. So it is something that has been going on and been preserved by many people. They are preserving it because it has worked for them. It has not been imposed by anybody. See, if it is simply a belief which doesn't work for you, which doesn't do anything for you now, you simply have to believe it and wait for you to die. That has to be imposed because people will rebel against it at some point or the other. Because the human hunger will come and they will rebel. So such kind of conclusions and beliefs will require imposition. But when you come to things like this, Hatha Yoga practices, you have to take into consideration all these things. It has not been imposed by anybody and people have been simply preserving it. It is just like Ayurveda. Only because it worked, people were preserving it. They were not simply preserving it as their identification. Today, identity has become a whole thing. Whatever is happening now in the newspapers, the news. People want to dress in one way because that's their identity. Another set of people want to dress in another way because it's their identity. It has nothing to do with how it will help you in any way. But wearing a tilak here is not an identification. Of course, many Indians don't know it now. That also become an identification, unfortunately. But it is not an identification. It is something that every human being has to do. Now, I will tell you, you may not understand what is the special about this place, you may not get. Then maybe I will tell you, you do this pranayama for a few years, you will come to know. Who will do it for a few years? They want to decide something now and dismiss now. So this has to do something with collective trust, and it is verifiable now, not after death. I have spoken about it in Science and Consciousness class. You have forgotten about it. There was I think it is there in YouTube. Where I differentiated between science, religion, and yoga. That religion simply goes by faith, and you simply have to go and wait for you to die. Science means objective verifiability, whereas these Hatha Yoga practices are subjective verifiability. But one day this will be objectively verified also. It will be. There's no doubt about it. Slowly, one by one, objectively they are being verified. Some things. 30 years ago, even pranayama, they had no objective proof. You simply had to trust. And now they are talking all in great language. If you simply breathe slowly, it will do this to the brain center, that to the brain center, and now people are waking up. Oh, we have to do pranayama. So objective proof will invoke more trust. Okay, fine. But you should be sensible enough to see if this has survived for thousands of years. Why are you waiting again for a scientific proof? It survived for a reason. So that's the difference between gymming and Hatha Yoga.
You were talking about the life process, and there is a destination, and we should not meddle with it. You've said to me this before also, but I just not able to grasp it. When you say that people have too much trust on their thought process. Now, whatever we do it by thinking. Even our actions are nothing but thoughts only that is manifesting.
Who is not asking you? Who is asking you not to think?
No, so, okay. So leave all these material activities that we do. All the non-material, so-called non-material activities that we do is also coming from thought, where we are deciding, yeah, this is better than that. This is where I should invest my time over that. And yet we are not out of our slumber. We are still in slumber. So that means we are still blocking it. But we are trying actually to unblock it. And yet we are still blocking it. So I don't understand this. Like, there's nothing other than thought that we can.
There are two forces acting, and yes, there are two forces acting. What is there not to understand? The innate process is trying to do something more. But you are trying to do something within thought process. In the sense, you're trying to arrive at a solution through thought process.
But how else? Like, if I do not apply thought, I would not study Upanishads. If I do not apply.
What have I been telling you since many days? If you want to apply your thought process, apply it so sharply and you will come to a dead end. If you are true to yourself, if you don't yield to words, if you don't yield to somebody said something, everything is one. If you don't yield to it, you just look around you. Whoever subscribes to a belief is very confident and very happy.
Yes.
Spirituality is not happening after that. They're finding a sense of comfort, sense of belonging. All this will happen because no matter how much you try to suppress that innate hunger, no matter how much you try to tell yourself, yes, I know, okay, this is the one, this is the solution, this is the conclusion. Even if you come to a sense of knowledgeability and feel good about it, you innately know it is not good enough. You are still hungry, and therefore it will start expressing itself in other ways. Now you will try to find validation for your conclusion. You will try to feel good by being with people who has the same conclusion as you have. Because the hunger is still there bothering you, and you don't know what that actual problem is. So it will go into a vicious pattern. You will try to find comfort in finding company and this and that. If you don't yield to any conclusion, if you don't subscribe to any sect, you can read and you can listen to anybody, I don't care. But as long as you're a true seeker, if you say, I am an Advaitin, you are killing yourself. If you have come to a conclusion like that, it is a thought process. You will just find another person to fight with. You will obviously find somebody to fight with. Dvaitin will be there always. The moment you come to a conclusion like that, you are going against yourself. So if you really want to use your thought process and go through Upanishads, you're reading Upanishads not to get conclusions which you have no idea about. You're reading Upanishads to see how these hidden beliefs can be challenged. And Upanishads give many methodologies to approach the problem, basically. That is all they do. Your concern should only be with that process which they call as neti neti. You just be concerned with seeing what is not true and you brush it aside. Your job is not to decide what is truth. That is too arrogant. Truth does not require our cooperation to assert. You can only keep aside what you have already concluded, which are not true. Thought process is to be used only for that. And that, in another terms, I usually call it as strangling thought, because it will come to a dead end. You will just come to a question after that. There are a lot of answers now. If you erase all the answers, questions only will remain. Not questions. Question mark will remain. So that is what I was telling in the beginning. In case of Bhakti Yoga, what happens? There are already hidden beliefs, and instead of addressing the hidden beliefs, people will make more beliefs of God. The same thing is happening in Jnana Yoga in another way. They may not call it as belief, but there is some hunger in me. I will go to Vedanta class and get a more conclusion and get more beliefs. Finally, I'm only getting more beliefs. They will tell your consciousness. You are conscious. As see, many masters will tell you, and they have a reason for telling it. They have their own reasons for telling it to make you see that sometimes it works. They will give you affirmative statement. They will say, there is no distance between you and you. You have never been undone. You have always been as you are. You have to just acknowledge it. They will tell a few sentences to you. It is to invoke some sense of intensity in you and question mark in you. And in some people, that itself will be a moment of realization, maybe. Sometimes it happens. But because that master gave you said something affirmatively, it is not for you to take and go on telling everybody. Go on here, tell friends. It seems we are all consciousness. Don't utter that. So if we don't utter that, if we focus only on the methodology, the Upanishadic methodology is basically that. They will use many kinds of things, Panchakosha or Avastatraya. They're basically asking you to inquire. Where were you in deep sleep? That is one way of inquiring. Like this, there are many approaches Upanishads use. See, whatever was available, whatever objective facts were available to them in those days, they used it. Today, we are not limited to them. Today, we have much more objective facts. The one that helped me, I have been telling you all the way. How does my brain neuron activity become vivid experience? This is the question that worked for me. Today, we have so much of objective facts. You can use all of it. The more you use it, the faster you will come to a dead end. There is no other way. It is only because you will yield to some words that you will become endless thinking. If you want to go by the path of thought process, see, all spiritual paths are delicate only, but especially when it comes to the path of thought process, it is extremely delicate. Even before uttering a word, you have to think 100 times, because language will come into play and so many things. For example, this word only, belief and trust are very commonly used interchangeably. But we must separate them. What is the meaning we are using belief as? What is the meaning with which we use trust as? This has to be separated. Otherwise, you will go on talking about belief, trust, and you will be a muddle. I'm giving one example. So if you want to go by the path of thought, that what words you use to even think have to be split and split and split, not endlessly. If you split them enough, you will come to a dead end. It requires very, very high level of meticulousness. So you think. Nobody is asking you not to think. I am only saying if you think sharply enough, you will see very quickly that it can't help you. Not just it can't help you. See, the moment you see that mind is limited, you have also seen that there is something more. It's together. So although I say discomfort and pain and blah, blah, it's not just discomfort. It is also a kind of thrill, because that itself will give you a sniff of the food. The moment you really clearly see the thought is limited, you will immediately sniff something more than thought also. So this coming to the dead end of thought and strangling thought and all this is not some psychological depression which will make you suicidal. When you corner your thought really, when you strangle your thought really, you immediately also sense something more than it. You can't say this is positive or negative like that. So if you want to go by the path of thought process, you have to exercise your intellect. Exercising your intellect requires tremendous care. You should not let it fly with words. I think now you are thinking Bhakti Yoga is better.
Actually, that question mark really posed a big question mark again. It's like you said, you keep on asking, you again end up with questions and more questions, because there is. But to seek answer also, you need to have a direction, right?
You
that
should
direction
answer.
will also be called the belief then.
No, asking question is fine. So, see, in my case, it somehow so happened that I did not go and ask question to anybody as personally as such. I was listening, but because the intellect was sharp enough and it was analytical, very analytical, and it could come to the dead end by itself. When actually speaking, when I came to that dead end, I didn't know a lot of concepts about yoga. I was still in MSc. I might have learned some things, but still I did not know a lot of things. So it is actually, first thing is, it is not necessary to know a lot of things to come to a very essential question which can't be resolved by thought. That is one. But if you can't come to such essential questions directly, then you have to start with what you were saying. It's some basic questions, like you can question this idea of duality. You can explore these things, and for that you can take the help of someone else also. You can ask them questions, they will answer. See, what is the purpose of you? I'm talking of superficial questions. What is the purpose of you going to another person? It may be a teacher or a friend, it doesn't matter. So you're going to another person and asking questions in spiritual terms, I'm saying, not other ways. What is the purpose of you going and asking them a question? You may think that you are asking a question so that you can get an answer. But actually, why you are asking a question? You're asking a question because presently you already have a floor, psychological floor upon which you are standing, and the questions are coming from that. When you ask a question to somebody, if they are answering properly, it is to destroy that floor upon which you are standing and asking the question. questions are coming upon a certain conclusion. I don't know whether you will see it or not. Questions will necessarily come behind, because behind the question there is an answer. There is a conclusion at a deeper level. There are layers and layers of conclusions, but you are not able to address the deepermost layer directly. So presently, maybe on the fourth layer of conclusion, and some question is coming from there. So that person is supposed to demolish this layer. They are giving you an answer to demolish this layer so that you can ask a little more fundamental question. Then they will demolish that layer also. Then you will ask a little more fundamental. This will go on, and finally it will reach a point. You will reach a dead end which can't be demolished by thought, because that is the footing of the thought process. That is the fundamental, what do they call it? That is the most foundational pillar of the thought process, and thought itself can't destroy it. When you come to that question, others can't help you. When you come to that question, if you ask others help, you will put one more layer on it. That's all you will do. Because that can't be demolished by words and thought. It can't be demolished by your own thought. Forget about others' answers. So others in Jnana Yoga, I'm talking in terms of Jnana Yoga. In Jnana Yoga, one person goes to another person because they are not able to demolish their hidden beliefs by themselves. And therefore they go to another and they're asking for help. So what will happen there is an erasing of the conclusions from which the questions are coming. So it won't be pleasant. The answers which you get will not be pleasant, because they will demolish you. Basically, it will demolish you. Because that layers presently is you.
Yes.
People when they go to spiritual forums, they usually think that they will get some nice answer and they will take that answer home and practice it and do something with it. In Jnana Yoga, that's not how it works. When you go to somebody asking a question, you are going there right at that point. You are asking for a demolition, not for something for you to take away and practice. I'm talking of Jnana Yoga. You speak of Hatha Yoga and all, it's a different matter. Vatsala was telling me, it seems in her YIC batch, I used to come for YIC batches to lecture. I used to give 8 to 10 classes. So it seems in my first class, some of her friends told among themselves, how can there be such an egoistic person in a spiritual institute? Because I was bashing them up. I was telling them, don't interrupt me. Don't ask loaded questions, this and that. I bashed them up very nicely. That you're don't ask questions in the disguise of asking questions. Don't give a lecture. Don't give your opinions. I used to tell all that.
Mosquito questions.
Mosquito questions. I used to tell all that. So they are telling themselves, well, how can there be such an egoistic person in a spiritual institute? Because until then, whoever came to lecture them were all cuddling them, kind to them. But then it seems that he only told me, after my lectures were over, they became my fans, which is good. Not because they became my fans. What I'm saying is they could see that spirituality is not about giving comfort. It is not about giving you validation for what you already think is right. It is about challenging your hidden beliefs, and you are not challenging it yourself. So when you approach a spiritual teacher, it is actually an invitation. Sir, please challenge my beliefs and bash them up. It's actually an invitation. And that is why spiritual teachers don't answer unless they are asked, no matter who it is.